So they raise a concern about some of the stuff in there may not be able to be taken care of over the winter. So regardless of what this council does or the next council is able to do before that time, we still have to put heat in the building, still have to provide electrical, and at that time, that reverts back to us. Is that right?
I would think so, yeah.
So, to me, I'd like to know what else, if we were gonna provide the heat and the insurance and whatever else the operating costs are of that building for a short-term period, I'd like to know from the museum, what would the cost be for somebody to take care of those specimens while we all work this thing through. To me, that might be a worthwhile letter to send to the museum to say, you know, like, we're headed in the right direction, you know, like, something like this is, like we've always said, once heard and deferred. You don't make decisions on something like this, especially on our last day of council. So to me, it's not something we're gonna make a decision on anyways, but, I would like to know that, you know, come December, the pipes aren't gonna freeze up in the place and the specimens aren't gonna fall apart because nobody's up there to take care of them. And if there's a particular cost for somebody to go in to take care of those things through the winter months, you know, if that's what it takes to get us to a new agreement in the museum, I think maybe that might be a worthwhile thing for us to send a letter to find out what the cost would be for them.
Personally, I would think we gave the $50,000 off rate for 5 months, which is just about over, I would think. But we haven't given anything to run weather utilities for the remainder of the year, or already into our next budget season. So I would be in favor of looking at a motion to cover the utilities for that length of time, because you're right, if you lose the heat, we got lots of problems then. So we've got to step up because it is our building.
And there's probably other things too that we're not thinking of, like off the top of my head, I could think heat, utilities, you know, maybe there's insurance that we have to have, fire protection, some, I don't know, but, you know.
Make a motion to have staff do check into that and see what cost would be.
And what do you guys think about asking the museum to say what would it cost for I can't remember the name of the person that does it, Joanne, who's the person? What's the?
Curator?
No, it's not, it's a curator, fossil collection person, or,
Mr. Buckley?
yes, but what Ms. Buckley does.
Okay, yeah, Worship. Thank you, Worship. They have in their budget operating funds to run till the end of December. So that is good. It'll be happening, you know, it'll be for next council to determine what's, you know, gonna happen. But I think their utilities were running, I think for the year, I think it was 33,000.
That's about right,
I'm
yeah.
thinking that's about what it is, so you divide that by till the end.
Do we want to handle that? Is it got the operating to the end of the year?
Till December.
Then it could, for the next council to look at. Make that request.
I think what Councillor Howe was saying, you know, the building is our responsibility. It could be we could help out with the heating and stuff, and I think I thought that was on our wickets here, but it's not. What the costs were for those 4 months we could look at that was sent in. Oh, that was here. Okay.
I think if we do take a look at operating costs, like for the utilities, like Councillor Howe and Councillor were saying, that any assistance from now till December would assist them. If they do have other, like that would free up some funds to, you know, continue as well, keeping the doors open. So I would be in favor of looking at that.
Somebody have a motion in mind?
I think.
Yeah, no, just before I go to a motion there, just like, again, to talk about like the person who takes care of the specimens up there. would we not want to know what that person costs going forward for a few months? My fear is that the new council comes in and they don't have anything decided on by December. Now, you get in and you've got November, a little bit of December before Christmas season hits, and now you've got 6 weeks to make a decision to give them funding. If we already had something in place before those new councilors get in here that says, listen, if you don't have to make a rush decision on this, you've got time between now and budget season to make a decision. The fear is that the specimens that are there will get wrecked, or they'll fall apart, or dehumidify, or whatever the word is, whatever happens to it. But the way I understood it, there's a person up there, and that's what her job is to make sure that all that stuff stays good. So we would have to provide funds for that person to be able to do that. And in the short term, as a show of good faith to the museum, that we're willing to work through this and figure it out, or the new council will be, but we have to give them ample time to do it. 6 weeks is not enough time in my mind.
So you want to send a letter and just find out what the costs are, and then come back to the.
Yeah, what the museum would think that the costs are for that particular person to do that work. And maybe there's something else that we don't know about. Maybe they say, geez, we also have to have this person there that does this and whatever. I don't know. Like, I would like to know what those costs are, and I guess that's the next council would have to make that decision though too, right? They would have to say, yeah, it's $10,000 a month, and this will buy you till September or till March or whatever, right?
Yeah, so we could give them that information so they have that.
They'd have it when they get here.
You want to make a motion to that effect?
Oh, yeah, okay, so make a motion that staff write a letter to the Museum Foundation to ask them what the estimated costs are to run the museum beyond December for utility and any other facility costs, and for somebody to protect and maintain the fossils that are there. That's not bad, eh? I think they're pretty good. Way off?
Any more discussion on it? Councilor.
Oh, thank you, Worship. I'd like to apologize because I have the paperwork, but we've been into so many meetings today that somewhere it's not there. And the Museum Foundation does have a financial report stating what is needed to be done. What they were asking for basically was the remainder of the funds that was in the fee-for-service for this year. That, at this point, is not on the table from this council as I can feel, but we will be willing to, right? So the fundings that was left available, is it still?
It was never.
No, that's right. So, but they're asking what we had budgeted for the fee-for-service in the first place.
Anything.
That's right. So I'm looking over there at head shaking and going, but, so I think.
I put on the floor, I put a motion out to put 200,000 aside.
Yeah, okay,
Defeated.
right, okay.
Councilor Paxton.
Yeah, I was a little confused there. So
That's-
we're looking
yeah.
at for money for funding to continue throughout the rest of this year as well?
Well, we've got funding to the end of December.
That's in place already. That's-
Yeah, so I guess this is going to get us to where the next funding is okay. So into February and March in that area when it comes to the new council.
Okay, so
Funding
there's
application.
no dire need to do anything today.
No,
Okay, that's it.
It's more of to help the new council coming in to have some time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Mr. Wall.
Mr. Wall?
Just looking for clarification, would you like it broken down, council, per month, or would you like it to a certain date? To March or per month?
Yeah, well, depends our funding decisions are April.
I'd say per month.
Well, that's when we'd have to do it. Councilor Strah.
Wouldn't the new council, I'm just wondering if we need to do this, wouldn't new council be being prepped on what the museum and the background and all of that stuff anyway? Or do we need to put this,
This is just going to bring them some information to make a decision,
but that would probably be in a report anyway, would it not?
not if we don't request a report.
Okay.
Councillor Jason?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just trying to search for minimal clarity. Within the letter, it's got on the second page, second paragraph, top. With those thoughts in mind, refer to the previous one. Therefore, the Television Museum Foundation respectfully requests that you release the remaining funds allocated to the Television Museum Foundation in the 2018 budget for our use. So for a point of clarification, are those funds still in the 2018 budget for this purpose as it's represented here? Or did we take them out and cancel out?
We defeated the motion to have that.
Right, just wanted to confirm it. Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Wall, you got everything you need?
Yeah.
All in
Just to
favor?
confirm, Councillor Kirkcaldy, you seconded the motion from Councillor Howe?
Yes, it did. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Uh, 6.2. Nicholas, Scaper Park safety concern. Information or discussion? Councillor Howe?
Discussion.
Councillor Kirkcaldy, second. Go ahead.
So, the way I understand it, I haven't spoken with Mr. Wall about this yet, but I actually was down at the skate park over the weekend, went down and just seen the kids that were down there, and I talked to that kid, he was actually down there, Nicholas was there, and he explained to me that the repair to the skate park has already been complete, so that, I think that staff was on it and did a good job. But I think it's great that a young kid had the guts to pull a letter together and bring it into town hall, I assume, and drop it off and do what he did, and should be commended for it. I think that's fantastic. Council has to work for people that don't vote as well. It has to be for kids like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Why don't we send a letter to Matt?
We've got a thank you letter going out to him as well as the facility pass, but if somebody
Cool.
knows specifically who he is and who we don't, maybe just after the meeting, come and let us know, because we're not sure exactly who he is.
Okay.
Can that letter come from mayor and council? Bylaws, use of engine retarders and tire chains in the town center. Have a recommendation there. Councillor Kirby.
Put the recommendation as presented?
Seconder. Discussion.
So a couple of questions here, in the wording of the bylaw on 15. Let's find the page here, sorry, I had it. Yeah, so 18, it says, use of engine charge within the town center, which is bordered by Northgate, Southgate, Monkman Way, Mackenzie Way, other than district vehicles. Why are we going with bordered by, and why is it only the downtown center? Would we not just call it the town site? I thought, did maybe staff get the wrong idea on what we were shooting for there? To me, the entire town site, we don't need to wreck any of the roads with tire chains, but.
I had a discussion with Mr. Wall about this, and it was my idea, this was going to go just outside of town,
Yes.
to get into town.
Yeah.
So it was Mr. Wall's, he was thinking it was going in town. I'm not sure, I don't think that's the way you were.
No, to me, anywhere in the town, anywhere in the town site, not downtown site.
So this would be going the entrance into town.
So this would be in the entire city. Then, yeah, we made a mistake, we thought it was the downtown core.
Okay.
Which is why we had it bordered that way.
Okay.
But if council wants to, if you want the prohibition to extend to the entire community, I'd recommend you adopt first reading, make the amendment that you want to have, and then move it there and we'll bring it back next time for second and third readings.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we've got on the floor for the first reading, right?
So, yes.
So we can just make an amendment, or?
I would make it after we put this with it. Second reading. That's what I understood.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor, first reading? Opposed, carried. Okay, for second reading, motion. Councillor
So
Hall.
that we make an amendment to include the entire town site.
Yeah, so let's take the motions and.
Also, that the District of Tumble Ridge Traffic and Highways Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 671, 2018 be read a second time. Then do I just say with the amendment? Is that?
So just have someone second it and then make the amendment.
Second, Councillor Delta. And Councillor Hall.
With the amendment that it includes the entire town site, with the signage being placed on the three highways leading into town.
Seconder for the amendment. Councillor Delta. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Opposed, carried.
Then, Your Worship, just leave it there and we'll come back with the amended wording for third reading.
Do we have to make a second reading now? No, I guess we don't.
Sorry,
Did
did you just vote on the amendment?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to vote to pass that second reading and then just leave it there, we'll bring it back. This third reading needs to be the exact language of what the bylaw is going to be.
On the motion on the amended motion. Motion on the amended second reading. All in favor? Opposed?
So
So we'll leave it at that and, the third vote.
talk about the ticket information as well?
Okay, that's coming now.
Okay, sorry.
We'll go through and update that, we've got direction on these things, so we'll go through that.
Okay, but we still gotta do the ticket information, right?
No, we'll go through and update it.
Okay.
So just to add to that there, so if we can. So to me, the amounts that we're talking about in the bylaw, of you use an engine retarder in town, it's a $50 fine, or if you use tire chains in town, it's a $50 fine. Like, that to me is way too low. Like, you use an engine brake, if to me, it's gonna be somebody that's, it's hard to get the person with the engine brake, as the document has said. So it should be like $500 for somebody using an engine brake that's somebody been chasing for a while to get to stop it. But for tire chains, it should be a $2,000 fine. I mean, littering this is a $2,000 fine, so why would we not have tire chains, something with some, with some bite to it, right? $50 is nothing, like, I'd run tire chains in town if rather than slip or whatever, like.
But, $50 fine, is that, where'd that come from? Is that comparison with other towns?
It was just matching up with the other levels of fines. When we took a look around the northeast, there was no other communities that had this in there. But council, you have the ability to set the fine levels at whatever you please.
And again, $50 is not worth the paperwork. It's not worth the time of our bylaw guy to go chase somebody down to say you've got tire chains on and waste his time and waste staff's time to produce a ticket and then send it in and send it back. It's not worth it. It should be higher than that. $2,000 is my suggestion.
I see I think the point that I was agreeing with this on was to get the signage up. I think that signage should deter most people. But I'm not sure I agree with a $2,000 fine. I know what you're talking about, that a loaded logging truck with chains on, you probably do $2,000 worth of damage. I'd like to hear from the rest of the council. Mr. Scott.
I agree with your worship regarding signage around town and, alerting people to that, but if Fort St. John and Dawson Creek and those municipalities don't have bylaws in effect, I think, this is like a lot of time being spent on something that isn't necessary, and a $2,000 fine. There's sometimes when highways, like when we have the freezing rain, sometimes those trucks, when they do come into tags or whatever, sometimes it is a safety issue having the chains on. So I don't know, like, I think we're spending time on something that is going to create maybe possible litigation down the road, especially if there's a $2,000, like, somebody would be fighting that. And I don't know how well that would be reinforced.
This is a discussion I had with Mr. Wall today too, because it puts us in a liable sense if there's an accident. So,
Yes.
no chains.
Well, the bylaw can be written to say that. I also know of a lot of lazy truck drivers that just don't pull the tire chains off because it's easier to pull into tags and grab a coffee with your chains on and continue on up the road. So to me, that can be written into the bylaw if it is an event of freezing rain or something like that, and it's a safety concern that you may need them on, then yeah, that's fine. But our public works and that's part of their job as well, is to make sure that our roads are maintained to a standard that is safe. You shouldn't have to run tire chains on the roads in Tumbler. There's no real hills to climb between here and any access in the lower bench or middle bench of town. I don't. To me, it's something to we can have a debate on or discussion on it, but $50 doesn't really mean anything for these guys that are doing this stuff. So.
So just on, I don't disagree with you in regards to the fine amount. But I also noticed, like, when it says district vehicles, but I know, being previously unemployed with BCM, as we've used chains many times in the district on Bridge. Freezing rain at 2 a.m. Only way you could climb up past high school was with chains. And we don't use the pebble chains, we use straps, right? So it's definitely wear and tear, but I don't think a $50 fine is gonna stop anybody from, like you said, taking them off or leaving them on. So.
And also, too, there's a distinction between Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. I mean, they have major highway running right through their city. Ours are to the outskirts of town. Our fuel depot is on the outskirts of town for the major trucks that come in and out of town. There really isn't any need to come into town unless you're coming in to get a snack or a drink or whatever. And to me, if take your tire chains off. We've spent what, $5 million in the last little while fixing up our roads. Why take the chance? Why take the chance for something that's it's been missed for the last 30 years, but we also have a lot more tractor trailer traffic coming through town. And if a new mine should open and starts hauling coal similar to what they're doing in Chetwynd, and you have coal trucks running through town doing the same thing, we've never really had a logging industry in Tumbler Ridge for quite a long time. And now we have logging trucks rolling through town, which, God bless them, we need them here, that's great. But, times change. We need to kind of keep up on it, so.
Go ahead.
You can see we're gonna have all kinds of problems with this. If we do put up a bylaw that's gonna put a good steep fine on it. But I have no issue at all with putting up a sign that's saying, no chains allowed. Just, that's it. Never mind the fine. And go from there, observe it. If it's not working, then change the bylaw. That's easy enough to do.
I know in my 35 years here, I've never seen a truck down with chains on. But I have come off my hill there and wish I had chains on when it's headed for that ditch, but and my neighbors have too. But no, I like the idea of the signs. I've seen lots of towns with those signs. I just have a real issue with that big fine like that. So where are we at right now? Have we got any motions or anything? Or we're just leaving it with you to sort this out?
So right now, we have first 2 readings of the bylaw, which are going to be amended to include the entire town site and come back to council. There's been no adoption or reading of the MTI, so unless that changes, the MTI will come back the way it is, which is with the $50 fines. So council's got to kind of figure out where you're going on this. Are you going down the road of just putting signs asking people not to do it? Or is this a bylaw with a fine attached? And if there is a fine, what's the level of fine going to be? So again, where we are now is that it'll come back as it is, except expanded to the town site.
My view is the signs. I'd like to see the signs up, and I'd be happy with that. But the rest of council, we can think about it, and then we're gonna vote on it on Friday. Is that'd be good?
Yep.
Okay. So you shaking your head?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, you good with that? Move on. 7.2, property tax exemptions. This is a common thing this time of year. Recommendation there?
Sure, yeah. That council give first reading to District Tumble Ridge permissive tax exemption bylaw number 673, 2018.
Any seconder? Mr. Strachan, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 5. Councilor Strachan?
That council gives second reading to District of Tumble Ridge permissive tax exemption bylaw number 673, 2000.
Seconder? Councilor Howard? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And number 3. Councilor Brigade?
The council gave third reading to the District of Tumble Ridge permissive tax exemption bylaw number 673, 2018.
Councilor Brigade? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, new business, consideration to sale monthly RV park and golf course. Recommendation there? So,
The recommendation as presented, the council does not sell the golf course.
hey, seconder? Councilor Brigade? Discussion? Glad we're doing this. I was really concerned that it could be picked up really cheap and stripped, and then we'd have to just redo the thing again. It's a gem of our town. And even though I'm not a golfer, I don't think about it. Councilor Howell, you Councilor?
Just for clarification on the recommendation to staff, should this recommendation pass, that does not mean that the sale of the golf course or RV park is off the table for forever. It just means at this time. Okay. So,
Well, and I was querying the Monkman RV Park because I thought at one point we had fair market value placed on it and that somebody could come in and make a bid on it at that price. So I was just wondering why Monkman is in this here recommendation.
Mr. Wall?
So I'll just draw council's attention. On the Tunbridge Golf and Country Club, you'll notice it says not to put it on the market nor release an RFP to facilitate the property sale, so that would mean it's not up for sale right now. Our applications to acquire the land to take care of those issues are in process, which is why that's there. The Monkman RV Park just says not to enter into a market process to facilitate the sale. It's still for sale. It will
Okay.
still remain on sale, so that's why you have the differences in those two sentences.
yeah, and that's my opinion. I mean, you'd be crazy not to hear somebody out. If somebody came in and wanted to buy the golf course for oodles of money, and that was the right choice for us, I just want to make sure that the option and the ability to do it is still there. Same with the RV park. So, just at this time, no.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Consolidation of residential lots. Recommendation? Councilor McKay?
The council approves the consolidation of the two residential properties located at 167 Cascatna and 127 Wapiti Crescent.
Mr. Scott, yeah, seconder. Discussion? So,
I'm in favor of allowing this to happen. Just wonder, is there anything within our bylaws that, besides a offset for how close a house can be to a street? Have we ever worked anything into the bylaw to say how close, like a garage or secondary building can be to a street? Is that in there?
I think it's in the
It is? So like I thought, because I built a garage in town, I thought what it was that it had to be located in the backyard or no further past the frontage of your property. So,
Or garage?
yeah.
So I don't think the garages have to be located necessarily in your backyard, but there is a setback you have to be from your neighbor's home as well as from the front.
Is this something maybe like, you know, in the future that we should look at of, you know, like, there are a lot of people that have lots in this type of a situation. And, I mean, to me, I wouldn't like to see a garage right out on the street, you know, too close to, you know, I understand what these folks are trying to do. They're just trying to get a little more backyard and put it right close to their property line. And where it is located, it'll still be in the trees around their property. You'll never even really see it. But it doesn't mean that the next person down the road won't put it right out onto the roadway. Just wonder if it's maybe something we should be looking at.
Go ahead.
It's one of those issues we can deal with on a case-to-case basis because they're gonna have to come in for building permits as well as
Okay.
applications for these variances. So we can take a look at it. One of the concerns, you know, you wanna have here is, you wanna be careful not to turn too many front yards into backyards. But in this case, it's a largely undeveloped area, hasn't seen development there for a long time, which is why the recommendations come through. But that's why we brought it to council, is we want these to be decided on a case-to-case basis where we can take a look at all of the individual circumstances.
I think Councillor Howell had a point there, though, because if this yard sold, and say there was other, now people have bought those lots and put houses on it, somebody comes with a garage right at the very back corner, which you could do, because it's a backyard, not the front yard. That could be an issue down the road.
So like the way that it's drawn out on the paper here, I could definitely agree with what he has done at this time. You can see his garage doors in the opposite direction. He obviously intends to access Wapiti and not through Kiskatna, where he lives at. Which again, to me, is not an issue the way this piece is located. I just think maybe that might be something we might want to review or look at in a bylaw for these types of cases. To me, I think it'd be great for the next council to have a look at something like that, so.
And even fencing, because I know our bylaw and fencing can't come past
The front of your house, yeah.
And I know in Dawson Creek, you see some of the fences they're right out to the street. They're all falling over, it looks terrible.
Mhm.
And I think that's the reason we have that bylaw, is so that stuff like that doesn't happen. And not to mention it, you say the visual sight down the front streets, it's for safety or stuff like that. But, yeah, I can live with this one too, but I do think it's something that should be addressed down the road, that you can't build a garage right at the back property line or something like that.
And because of the way it's presented here right now, does that mean that that's the way that it's going to be done? Or this person will still have to come back in front of the next council and say, yeah, now that we've approved it, this is actually where it's gonna go?
So with the application in here, we're approving it based on the information provided. So if they were to come back, and if they're gonna build the garage, they need a building permit. If they're gonna come back and request a building permit to put it somewhere else, we can deny it and say this
Okay.
isn't based on the application.
Okay, perfect.
That's why in this case, there's not an issue, but to council's point, I think that it is a good idea if we're going to be looking at making these type of extensions more regular in the community. It's probably something to look at regulating as well.
Okay.
Anything else? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Lions Club, garage and craft sale. Information and discussion. Sir, Trucca.
I'd like to move for discussion.
Secretary. Go ahead.
Yeah, my thoughts is hats off to an organization that's willing to do something to fundraising for themselves and another group, which is the youth center. So, I mean, they're looking at doing a farmer market style, every 3 weeks, so once a month or whatever it's gonna work out to be. And fundraising for two groups and giving something to the locals. So not only people that live within our community to sell stuff, but maybe pulling people from out of town to come shopping. So I fully support just doing it now, whether we can make a motion with it being first seen, because there's no recommendation from staff. To me, I think it's, to me, I fully support it. And there's some alternatives. I'm gonna put a motion for it. Yep. Council approves Lions Club fee waiver request to waive room rental fees, rooms 4 and 5. And the council waives bylaw number 644, community market permit for the Lions Club to host fundraising events every 3 weeks on Sundays during the months of October 2018 to May of 2019.
Second for that. Councillor Scott. More discussion on that?
Just to add, like I read the report that staff supply too, and the lines have in there how they have their insurance and everything up to par. And, I mean, they're set to do this, so I think it's something that's, you're on them.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor? Carried. Halloween bonfire. Information or discussion? Discussion, seconder? Carried. Go ahead.
I'm actually just gonna put a recommendation on the floor, and that's the council approved the in-kind donation request submitted by the Bloody Jared Hunt, and the council approves the requested road closure of the section of Cottonwood Avenue from Spruce Avenue to Ash Pleasant for Halloween bonfire.
Second for that. Discussion on that?
So is that option one? Okay.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Travel board oversight and harassment course. Now, this happens, after the election, but I think it's something that's that mayors should be trained in. Because it's something that does come up once in a while. And, I think, get your help with mayor. So, the recommendation there. Councilor McCatt?
Look, move it as presented.
Okay. Seconder? I'll second it. Discussion? Councilor Hall?
Can you just maybe give us a little more insight into what it's for? To me, it seems like it's information that we would need to get from our lawyers to have any weight anyways if we were ever into a harassment suit or.
We have, I'm sure that we all remember that we've had some fairly heated discussions here about certain things. And a couple of them had to do with harassment, I think. And I think if I'd have been trained a little better, I maybe could have handled it a little better. It's not, I've been, not very many people are trained in. And I think it's something that mayors should be trained in. I'm not talking just about mayors in Tumbleweed Ridge. I think all mayors should be trained in it. The discussions I have with other mayors, they've all had the same issues. Councillor Casey and Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question when I first read this over, that struck me that we're talking about harassment employees and so forth, and that this is something that perhaps our CAO should be going to. Because all of the employees, we only have the one, of course, and that's our CAO. He has everybody else. And it just struck me that that would be something perhaps worthwhile for him to do because of the position that he has. That's the first time it came to my mind. Whether it be one or two or whatever, but it just strikes me that that's an area of concern for him. And since, again, they all report to him, it just strikes me to be a logical process on that. Thank you.
Second is Councillor Scott, you wanted to?
Yes, I was just thinking the November 13th date. We're not sure who's going to be,
That's what I said.
yes, so I'm just thinking like a person could have that on the radar for the next time this course comes around. Like I'm not comfortable committing somebody.
It's not a commitment that whoever got on didn't want to go to it, just say they don't want to go to it.
And there wouldn't be any funds that were,
We would cancel trips all the time.
I know, but that would be fully refunded back then?
I think so. If we cancel in time, it's totally refundable. So,
I'm not sure, I'd have to check into it, but we could, what council would be doing here would just be approving the funds. We wouldn't register until we know we had somebody going. It may be that this fills up, but I just wanted to talk to Councillor Casey's point. This is not for staff, this is for board. This is so It's
Yes.
board level training for board level issues. It's not meant to deal with staff issues. It's meant to kind of deal with issues amongst the board and within the board. So this wouldn't be an appropriate course for me, but I do have courses on these type of things I take for staff level issues.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Guy, you wanted
Well, that was a little bit of information we didn't have before, but because I thought both positions would be suitable candidates for that type of course. I mean, it's just enable you to maybe avoid the pitfalls that sometimes happen and sort of wander into somewhere where you shouldn't be. And it'd be nice to have somebody that done out.
to? This job is getting to be a point where there is a lot of legal stuff going on. And it's nice to know what you can and what you can't do. Councillor Chuckle.
Yeah, I just have a couple points. Do we know how many seats are available?
Do not.
I just think this is something that maybe can be brought to Tunbridge, all councils can be doing, the new councils could be going through, because it's not just one person that reflects it, it's actually, to me, it's governance by all of us. That's my thought, so if you have one person trained, I mean, you start questioning whether that one person's correct, or is it the 5 other people or the 6 other people correct? No, then that's a question, right?
No, I'm just saying that's what comes up.
Right? That's why I'm saying that, to me, this is more of a, like, it's like a governance thing. I think if really some of this, should be something that's maybe brought in-house, and all of the elected officials take.
Okay, I'll defeat this and you bring it back to the next one. Okay. All in favor of this? Opposed? Defeated. Schedule of meetings. I don't think we got any more. Well, we got one on Friday. Oh, no, we don't. I think we'll have it on Friday. I don't think there's anything else to put on there. Then we're on to, notice the motion. Consent claims, grant the fee and fee for service policies, so Councillor Howe.
That administration prepares an amendment to the council's grant and aid fee-for-service policies that will require the public disclosure of salaries for paid employees or any other, paid employees of any organization seeking funding the District of Tumbler Ridge.
Seconder? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council's business. Anybody like to share? Councilor Allen.
Just one question through to staff. It's about the access to Gwillem Lake. I don't know if staff is aware if the gates have been shut to Gwillem Lake or if they've had any contact again with the ministry. You know, we put forward a letter to them quite a while back and they put a gate down at the provincial park. And I hear rumors, don't know if it's true or not, but the gates to the park are again locked, so people can't get access to the lake. So don't know if anybody else has any insight into it, but something that we put forward so that we could get access to the lake. Wondering if we could just follow up on it.
Mr. Wall, do you need any more than that?
We'll get back to council. I'll have to look into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilor McKay.
Just that I was there last week and it was opened. You could drive down. The gates going into the campsite were closed, but you could access the lake.
Perfect.
Not like, I don't know if it's that way today.
Okay.
Anything else? Question and answer period. Chris.
Doesn't have anything to do with the agenda, and so that's the last one.
Sure. So that's the last chance, anyway.
Fair enough. It has to do with the non-medical cannabis retail store license. I spoke with Christine and Keith about this, and there needs to be a notice of motion to support their retail store, and the period of public input doesn't close until the 19th. Is there a possibility of having a special council meeting for existing councilors to give that letter of support? Because the swearing-in process isn't going to take effect until October 30th. So their concerns was they're going to miss out on a 2-week window of
So Mr. Wallace sent an email addressing this, and can you answer that?
The notice period closes on the 19th. I'd have to double check, but I'll take your word for it. It closes on the 19th. So usually the notice periods close at 4 p.m. on the 19th. I don't know. I don't see how we would get a council meeting done. Staff would have to prepare a report based on the input that we got, and the election's on the 20th. It's bad timing, but every municipality is in the exact same situation. We have to go through a public notice period, or else if we just provide the recommendation, the province won't accept it. So we have to show that we've gone out and given our residents a chance to reply back and give their feedback, and that council has considered. You don't have to accept their feedback, but that you've considered it. If we were to try and do this before the election, my strong suspicion is that the province would reject our process, and we'd have to go through it again, causing.
Your email made a lot of sense to me, and it is a bad deal. But we are still sitting as a council, but you said in your email that
I didn't get that.
there's no decisions really made unless it's an emergency or that's some kind of thing.
It's not my decision when council meets. Council can meet when you want to meet. If this is something that you want to do, but you've got to maybe ask yourself the question: do you feel it's appropriate for this council, after a new council's been elected, to make the determination whether or not there's a retail cannabis store in the community?
And that is how we would feel about it, I guess. I wouldn't feel like great about it.
I don't think, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So are we not sitting councilors until the other ones are sworn in?
Yeah.
So do we not still have to make decisions for the town if something came about?
Yeah.
So to me, if it has to be done, it's gonna hold up their application or whatever. I have no problem meeting for a quick meeting about that.
I could call a meeting,
If it had to be done.
if council agrees to that. Anybody opposed to me doing that?
The timeline, though, it would have to be on the 19th, would that type thing?
No, we sit until the new council sworn in.
Yeah, but the deadline for the public input was the 19th, am I correct?
So it would have to be on the 19th.
Yes,
No, sorry, it would have to be after the 19th.
yes.
So we still sit until,
I'll let council, I've been communicating with the company. They're aware of the timelines. Every other municipality is in this situation as well, that nobody's approval is getting done before the new councils come in. Again, if you want to call special meetings afterwards, I think you can. I'm going to have to just double check to make sure that's okay. It's not the usual practice, but I think you do have the ability.
Councilor Casey?
Thank you, Worship. Just confirmation, this is our last council meeting, is that correct?
Unless you schedule more, Mr. Casey.
This is my last.
Duly noted.
Okay, well, I can check with Mr. Wall, I'll send out an email. And we'll see. Thank you.
Sorry.
Anything else? Councilor Carey.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to recognize and thank Councillor Casely and Councillor Mackay for 4 great years. And it was really good. If this is our last council meeting, I have to say that.
Councilor Scott.
Councilor Scott.
Oh,
Councilor
Oh, Councillor Scott, I'm sorry. That's okay, Joe. How terrible am I? Scotty.
We've done 4 years.
yeah.
seems like a long 4 years at one time, it seems like a short one now.
Yeah, I guess the sayonara to any of you guys that don't make it, and if I don't, it's been great.
Anyway, I guess this is our Chairman. Councilor Jaycee, I'll let you do that.
Thank you, worship, I move to adjourn.
Seconder? Councilor McKay? In favor?
Thank you, guys.